Good morning everyone. Naririnig na ba ako? Narinig na ba ako? Okay, so let's start. So this is the last lesson in Triple MA 14, and compared to the to the past lessons, ito siya yung isa sa mga pinakamadaling lesson. So I think yung difficulty niya would be similar to descriptive analysis, wherein we solve yung mean, standard deviation, etc. So yun, yung mga mean, standard deviation, range ng mga formula, gagamitin lang natin, yung tatlong yun, gagamitin lang natin yun dito sa pag-aaralan natin today, which is statistical process control. So previous lessons deal with yung parang malaman natin if yung factors natin ay choppy. Teka lang. Let me just change my connection then. Ayan. So, what am I saying? Yung past lessons natin, which are yung mga statistical tools, ayun, nakita naman natin na nagdi-deal sila if yung mga factors natin na involved ay more on significant ba sila or hindi, etc., etc. So ngayon, when I say statistical process control, yung titingnan natin dito ay if yung process na ginagawa natin yung process na ini-employ natin sa paggawa, for example, ng isang material ay nakokontrol pa ba natin? Is it following the standard that we impose to that process? Ayun. So in short, titingnan natin if the process that we are employing is controlled or out of control. So by using this statistical process control or SPC lesson, we will know if out of control siya or again, nakokontrol pa natin siya. Gets yung rationale? Can I get a thumbs up if nagets yung rationale doon? Ayun. So to give you a proper definition, so according to Juran and Greenup, 1993, SPC or statistical process control is the application of statistical methods to the measurement and analysis of variation in any process. So basically, ang sinasabi lang niya. So as you can see in this slide, in this graph, so meron tayong lot number, tapos ito yung, and in the y-axis, nandito yung AC content. So, nung chine-check natin per lot, makikita natin na yung iba, yung isa actually ito, parang lumampas siya sa limit natin. So, this is the upper limit. Ito yung lower limit. So, ano yung mga limit na to? So, kung nasa industry ka, ito yung mga chine-check mo na parang parang QA. So kung may material ka, dapat hindi siya mag-go beyond this limit. Kasi pag nag-go beyond siya, for example, in this lot 11, meaning at that moment na ginagawa mo yung lot 11, there's something na nangyari doon sa process. That's why lumampas siya sa limit. So basically at that day, nung ginagawa mo yung lot 11, the process was out of control. Gets? So yon. So the SPC, mga ano lang to graph mga graph lang gagawa lang tayo ng mga graphs. So hanapin lang natin yung mga yung upper limit, the upper limit, the lower limit. Tapos there are different types of graphs which we will discuss later on. Okay? So yan lang yan yung mga sinasabi dyan. And also using SPC, aside from malalaman mo dito kung out of control yung process, malalaman mo din if yung cause of variation or yung cause of yung out of control, pagiging out of control ng process mo ay, yung cause ba niya ay due to special causes or due to common causes. Ayan. But then again, in this lesson, hindi tayo magko-focus doon na whether special causes ba yung reason bakit nag-out of control siya, meaning lumampas siya ng limit, or is it common causes. Sa lesson na to, we will focus if the process in that time period is out of control or not. Mamaya makikita nyo to sa examples. Okay? So in SPC, these are the most used types of charts. So we have control charts for variables, control charts for attributes, and then you have the cumulative sum control charts, and then exponentially moving weighted average control. So isa-isahin natin yung definition nito, but we will only focus yung paggawa ng chart dito sa first one, which is control charts for variables. Okay? So first, control charts for variables. So to give you, ang daming nakasulat dito, but the control chart for variables, ginagawa mo siya kapag numeric yung data mo. Okay? Yun lang yun. Kapag numeric yung data mo, tapos yung process mo ay, yung process mo parang hindi talaga siya nag-differentiate per day, we use control chart for variables. Okay? Yung control chart for attributes naman, dito, kapag gagamitin mo to, kapag yung data mo is not numeric. So, hindi siya numeric. So, basically, for example, pass or fail ba siya, conforming or non-conforming, ganon. But you can also use 1, 0, 1 for conforming, 0 for non-conforming. Parang ganon. Gets ba? Claro. How about others? Sige nga, ano yung difference ng control chart for variables at saka control chart for attributes? Kindly palagay sa chat box. Ano na yung iba? O dalawa na lang para mag-next slide tayo. Ayan, so yung difference lang ng control chart, again, control chart for variables, numeric yung data. Yung sa attributes naman, hindi non-numeric yung data. So non-conforming, conforming, pass or fail, etc. Or you can use 1, 0 to denote those conforming, non-conforming. Ayun. And then the third one is cumulative sum control chart. So basically here, you're just getting the sum of your data points. So may mga subgraphs, subtypes of graphs. But again, we're not going to focus here. So basically, kung yung previous two ay more on the data points, each data point, yung cumulative sum, kinukuha niya yung sum nung data. So either, ayan, so di ba may upper limit tapos may lower limit tayo? Ang ginagawa dito sa cumulative sum control chart, kinukuha yung sum either sa each part ng center line. Tapos based on that, malalaman mo na whether yung process mo ay out of control or control. Okay, so yun yung thought idea dito sa cumulative sum control chart. Dito naman, sa exponentially moving weighted average control chart, it is similar to cumulative sum control chart. Yung difference lang niya ay nagbibigay ka ng weight per X value, per independent variable or per day. So, example nito katulad sa grades nyo. Diba sa grade distribution natin, parang 50% quiz, 20% final exam. Yung ganun din siya sa exponentially moving weighted average control chart. So basically, if you're going to make a graph, this graph, you need to have weights doon sa independent variables mo, doon sa x axis ng graph mo. Klaro? Sige nga, anong difference ng cumulative sum, control chart or cum sum, and exponentially moving weighted average? Ano difference? What's the difference between exponentially moving weighted average and the cum sum? Wala nagsasagot. Correct. Basically, the process in making the graphs, making those two types of graphs is actually similar. The only difference is that sa exponentially moving weighted average control chart, you're going to impose or indicate weights doon sa independent variable mo, sa x-axis. So for example, sa day 1, 50%, hindi, sa day 1, 10% lang siya. Sa day 2, mas malaki-laki yung weight kasi mas present nangyari yung process. So 50%. Ay, ito pala, mas ginagamit itong itong exponentially moving weighted average control chart than this kapag yung process mo ay prone to changes sa process, changes sa parameters. Kaya ka may weights. Tapos yung weight, mag-indicate ka ng weight, mas malaki, mas mabigat yung weight kapag mas present siya nangyari. So for example, if you given day 1 and day 2, maglalagay ka ng much more weight sa day 2 than day 1. Klaro? Samantala dito sa cum sum, ina-assume dito na walang nangyayari or negligible yung changes per process per day or per log. Okay? So may nagtanong, di ba prone sa bias ang pag-assign ng weight? Yes, it is prone to bias, but then again, the reason why we're putting weight because we know na the process for that, the process that we're dealing with changes over time. I mean, some parameters there changes over time. So maybe yung wearability ng gears mo nag-iiba. So kahit nag-change talaga. So kaya ka naglalagay ng weight. And greater weight, you assign a greater weight or a heavier weight dun sa present days. Gets? Did I answer your question? Any more questions? Wala na. So before I continue with my lesson, i-check ko muna yung participants. Teka lang ha. Pa-control screen. Wala tayo mag-control screen. Teka lang. Okay, so bakit ko print screen yung mga pangalan sa participants? Because I'm going to give a bonus in terms of quiz sa mga umattend ngayon sa last lesson. Okay, so are we good with that? So yon. Kaya ko kayo pinapa-attend doon sa announcement. Umattend kayo sa last lesson. Okay? So yon. Ayan. So anyway, to continue. So anyway, I'm going to put the guidelines lang maybe next week regarding the bonus kung ano yung nakuha niyo. Okay? So anyway, let's continue. So ngayon, gagawa na tayo ng mga graphs. So di ba sabi ko sa inyo, magpo-focus tayo sa control charts for variables. So itong mga nakalagay, X bar R chart, X bar S, XMR, ito yung pag-aralan natin kung paano sila ginagawa. Pero basically, yung ano nila process in making these graphs, parehas lang sila. Nag-iiba lang sila sa ito. Ayan. May kita niya. So anyway, X bar R chart. So when you say X bar R chart, X bar refers to arithmetic mean. So alam niyo to, yung average dun sa descriptive statistics. And then R, that's for the range. So in X bar R chart, you expect that there are two charts that you'll be making two charts. Okay, two graphs. Ayan. Tapos, it should be noted that in making X bar R charts, you should have 2 to 15 observations. Tapos, kanari, per day ka nag-check. Each day should have an equal number of observations. Hindi pwede sa day 1, 4 lang, tapos sa day 2, 15, hindi pwede. Pag day 1, 5, dapat yung day 2, and so forth, 5 din. Klaro? Gets? So, yan. So, paano ginagawa yung X bar R chart? So, first, mag-collect ka ng data. So, as you can see, wait lang, yun nag-move yung mouse ko. Gift nyo nga ako ng mouse. Anyway, ayan. Ayun, so, una yung gagawin mo, malamang mag-collect ng data. So, eto, meron ka sa date. So, Feb 1, you have 5 observations. And since dapat equal yung number of observations, meron ka ding 5 observations sa Feb 2, Feb 3 hanggang Feb 9. Okay? And then next, kukunin mo yung average ng each day. So sa Feb 1, ayan, ito yung average. Sa Feb 2, ito yung average. Feb 3, ito, and so forth sa Feb 9. Okay? Naiintindihan? Average lang. Madali lang, di ba? Nasusundan? Ayan. Tapos, ang gagawin next, so meron ka ng average per subgroup. Ayan. Ang next mong kukunin hindi mamaya pa pala. So, yun, meron ka ng each average per subgroup. So, pinapakita lang dito kung paano mo kunin yung average, pero alam nyo na to based from previous lessons. So, ano lang yan, kung sa Excel, equal, average, tapos highlight the data. Tapos kung hindi, edi isulat mo each values over kung ilang observations. Then you'll get the average. So yun, so meron ka ng average. Yung next na kukunin, since X bar R chart tayo, okay na tayo sa X bar. So sa tingin nyo, ano yung next? So okay na tayo sa mean or sa average. Ano yung kukunin na next? Anong data? Ano yung R? Range. May nagsagot ng regression. Okay lang yan. Baka nano ka pa sa sa previous lessons natin. So anyway, range, okay? Ano lang tayo dito? Chill lang to sa sa lesson. So tapos ay sa mean, range naman. So kukunin mo yung range per subgroup. So for example, ito. Sige nga, paano kunin yung range? Ano yung formula? Correct. Highest data minus lowest value data. So for example, ito, kunin mo yung range nito. Ayan. Sa Feb 2, kunin mo din yung range. You have 1.2 and so forth. Ayan, hanggang Feb 9. So basically, each subgroup will have meron kang average, meron ka ding range. Klaro? Ayan. Ito sabi lang ulit kung paano kunin yung range. So anyway, after getting the average and the range and the range per subgroup, we will now calculate the grand mean and the grand range. So basically, from the name itself, ang gagawin mo lang, so for the grand mean, kukunin mo lang yung average ng averages ng subgroups. Na-gets ba? Gets ba yun? Ayun. So, ito, I think this is the average of Feb 1, Feb 2, Feb 3, Feb 4, Feb 5, up to Feb 9. And since we have 9 days over 9, so this is your grand mean. Is that clear? Ayun. And then, anong next na sinabi? After getting the grand mean, ano yung kukunin natin next? Anong kukunin next? Correct. Mean average. Or I call it grand average. Mean average, mean range. Right? Ayan. So, dito, kukunin mo lang yung average ng range mo. Okay? So, ito yung mga ranges mo per day, per observation, over the number of observations. So, you have 1.8. Okay? Gets? And then after getting those descriptive statistical values, we will now compute the upper and lower control limits. Okay? So, di ba, meron kang, kanina ba diba sabi ko sa inyo, may dalawa kayong charts na gagawin. And each chart, meron kang upper and lower limit. Okay? So basically, meron kang may upper lower, tapos may upper lower ka pa. So for the upper chart, which is yung X bar, okay? Sa X bar chart, ganito. Ito yung formula sa pagkuha ng limits. Okay? Again, this is the formula on how to compute the limits for the X bar chart. Okay? And this is the formula to get the limits for the range chart. Claro? Gets ba yun? Okay. So, as you can see, sige, dito tayo mag-focus. So, upper control limit is grand mean plus a constant. Ito. Constant times the mean range. Okay? So, ano tong constant? So, ito yon A2, ayan, meron tayong table of constants for SPC, which I'm going to upload din mamaya. Pero ito lang din yun, yung i-upload ko. Itong table. So, basically, this constants, yeah, meron kang A2, A3, D2, D3, D4, D3, D4, E2. Tapos, kanari, meron kang 5 observations, like sa ating example. Then, yung A2 mo is 0.577. Is that clear? So the constants depend on the number of observations. Clear? Ayan. So kaya, mamaya. So anyway, yung A2 na nagagamitin natin is, since we have 5 observation, 0.577. Ito yung ilalagay mo dito. Tapos dito naman, sa limit for the range chart, meron kang D4 at saka D3. Okay, so yung D4, ito yon. Okay, yung D3, which is, yun yung constant na imumultiply mo to get the lower limit for the range chart. As you can see, wala kang values, diba? Sa less than 7. Okay? So since, meaning yan, kapag yung observations mo ay less than 7, for example, yung problem natin ngayon, wala kang, kasi since wala ka naman, so 0 yan. 0 times the mean range, 0. So wala kang lower limit for the range chart. Claro? Gets? So, meron ka lang, kanore, pag less than 7 yung observations, you only have, less than 7, you only have an upper limit, no lower limit. Okay? Pero pag beyond 7, is equal, beyond it or equal to 7, then you have an upper and lower limit for the range chart. For the range chart lang ha. Claro? Is that clear? Ayan, so using the formula, so basically ito yung constants natin ha. Mag-upload din ako ng separate file which contains exact same table. Anyway, using the formula, ito na yon. This is the formula for the X bar chart, so upper chart. So A2, since you have, again, 5 observations, 0.577 yung ilalagay. Ayan. Tapos just input the mean range, 1.8, 1.8, and the grand average, 15.14. Ayan. So yan na yan. Meron na tayong limits, control limits for your X bar. For the range chart, which is the lower chart, ayan. And then D4, constant. So you have 5 observations. So you're gonna put 2.114. Tapos, as you can see, wala kang lower control limit. Bakit nga ulit? Yes, you don't have a lower control limit for your range chart because your observations is 5, which is which is less than 7. Okay? Kaya wala kang lower control limit. So kapag ipa-plot na natin, ayan. Ano ba yun? Ayan. Ayan. So dito mo na, ito yung X bar. Ito yung chart. So ito yung upper control limit mo. Ayan, ilagay mo lang. So it's basically it's a horizontal line. Ito yung lower control limit mo. So ano kaya tong center line? Ano to siya? It corresponds to what? Correct. Ito yung grand mean mo. Okay? Claro? Is that clear? Ayan. So ito naman, ito yung mga data. Ayan. Okay? Yung mga nakulat mong data. Yun. Tapos, which is yung ito, kung nakikita nyo, ito yung, ano kaya to? Paano kaya to nakuha? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Paano kaya to nakuha? Kunwari, sa Feb 1. Feb 1. Ano to? Correct. These are the means. Ito yung mga means ng subgroups mo. So this is the mean for Feb 1, mean ng Feb 2, Feb 3, Feb 4, and so forth hanggang Feb 9. Clear? Okay. So for the range naman, similar thought or idea, your center line is the what? What's the descriptive statistical value here? Ano yung Correct. The center line is your mean range. And wala tayong lower control limit. So yung upper limit natin ay yung nakuha natin kanina. So yan. And again, itong data points, paano siya nakuha? Correct. That would be the range per subgroup. Are we clear? Are we clear? Are we clear? Okay. So ganon. That's how you make the X bar R chart. So the next one that we're going to discuss is the X bar S chart. So actually, X bar S chart is just similar with X bar R chart. The only difference is that instead of range, standard deviation yung kinukuha mo. Okay, for the lower chart. Gets? Klaro ba yan? Ayun. So, kung kanina, wala kasing, ano yun. So, kung kanina, range yung nandito, ang kukunin mo dyan ay sample standard deviation. Okay? Ng each subgroup. Tapos, after getting the sample standard deviation for each subgroup, you're going to get the mean standard deviation. Gets? Yun lang yung difference nila. Tapos yung ito. Tapos ito yung formula for your control limits for your X bar S chart. Okay? Yan yung mga only differences. So, A3 na yung kino-consider dito. So, since we have, kanari, you have 5 observations, then A3 mo is 0.577. Okay? Tapos dito naman B4, B3. So, B4 mo, 5 observations, 2.114. Tapos, since wala ka namang B3 na constant for 5 observations, then 0. Wala kang lower control limit for your standard deviation. Is that clear? Klaro naman. Madali lang, di ba? Yes or no? Okay, so let's move to XMR chart or X moving range chart. So yung X moving range chart, ginagamit mo siya. Ayan, so for the X moving range chart, you're going to use this if the number of observations per day na ginagawa mo is only 1. Okay? 1 observation ka lang. Klaro? Ayun. Para pag more than 1, mga 2 to 15 na, gagamitin mo na is either X bar R or X bar S. Ayun. So again, this is used for number of observation equal to 1. And how do we make the XMR or X moving range chart? Malamang, ang muna mong gagawin, magkukulit ka ng data. So as you can see, ayan, yan yung dates. And then since 1 observation lang naman tayo per day, andito siya, individual Y data. Yeah. So Y-axis. Anyway, 19, 22, tapos hanggang April 10, you have 18. Since this is moving range, ang kukunin mo lang ay yung range ng consecutive range values. So for example, anito ba? Ayan. So how did you get 3? So yung 3, that's just the absolute value of the difference of 22 and 19. So yun yung 3. Gets? Ayun. Tapos ito naman, yung nandito, that's just the, again, absolute value of the difference between 16 and 22. So, kaya 6. Again, absolute value ha. Pag may nakita na lang sa moving range na nag-negative, okay. So, absolute value lang siya. So, yun. Ano lang, ganyan-ganyan. Consecutive difference, absolute values. Yan, 3, 16, minus 20 to absolute value yan, 6, 18, 16, you have 2, and so forth. Clear naman siya. Clear. And after getting the moving ranges, ano na yung next na gagawin? Since this is X bar moving range chart, next mong gagawin ay to get the average na naman. Kasi may X bar pa, data points. So average lang siya. So ito lang yan. Kunin mo lang average niya, observations. Okay? So over the number of observations, which is 10, and then you'll get the average. Ayan. And then next is the average of moving ranges. So nakakuha ka na ng moving ranges, the next thing to do is to get the average. And since nakikita nyo naman na kapag nagko-compute tayo ng moving range, the number of your moving ranges is n minus 1. Okay, so if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you have 10 data points. So yung moving ranges natin, parating minus 1 yan, di ba? Di ba? Tama? Tama, di ba? Oo, so yun. So kaya, to get the average of moving ranges, you'll just get the sum and then over k minus 1. So data points, number of data points, minus 1. So since we have 10, so 10 minus 1 is 9. Claro? So, and this is the average of moving ranges. Gets? Ayan. Gets. Ayan. Tapos, yan, sa step 5, of course, pag nakuha natin yung mga values na yun, we're going to get the control limits. So, of course, we have the upper and the lower control limits. Tapos, ito lang yung, okay, nakalimutan ko. E2 to, E2, yung constant na imumultiply mo to get the control limits. Okay, E2. Kindly take note. E2, ito. Na-take note na ba? Take note na ba? Yes or no? E2 as in eggplant 2. Okay? And since we're dealing with just, di ba sabi ko kanina, the table of constants for SPC depends on the observations. But then again, yung ilan nga yung number of observation natin dito? For XMR, number of observations, hindi data points. 1. Since 1 lang naman siya automatic for XMR, ang kukunin na natin dito na mga constants ay yung lowest doon sa table of constants. Since yung lowest sa table of constants ay sa 2, disregard nyo na lang yung 2. Yung kukunin automatic ay yung lowest. So, kukunin mo yung 2.66, kaya siya 2.66 sa E2. Klaro? Again, for XMR, the constants that you'll be getting ay yung lowest, I mean, yung pinaka, n equals to 2, yung lowest, no, yung ano doon, yung value doon. Klaro? Ayan. So, E2 to, and then, so you'll get the upper control limit, lower control limit for your, ayun, for the X bar part ng chart mo. Tapos, dito naman sa ranges, sa moving range chart, ito yung formula niya. And ito, this is just D4. Ayan, D4 yan. Pakitake note, hindi ko nalagay. Yan, D4, ito naman ay D3 plus MR. Paki-compute, paki-ano na lang, paki-take note. D4, D3. Okay? Na-take note na ba? Ayan. So, ayun, plug in lang the values and then you'll have your limits. Ayan. So, this is just the control limit. The upper, the lower control limits of your, for the X bar at the part. Tapos, ano kaya yung center line? Sige nga, ano yung center line na to? Correct. That's just the mean na nakuha mo kanina. Tapos itong value, ano kaya to? Ano kaya itong mga, ito, paano siya nakuha? Oh. Yan lang yung data point. Di ba isa lang yung data, yan lang yung data per observations. Di ba, isa lang na may observation natin. So, kung ano to, saan na yan? Yan, 19. O, yan lang din yung ilalagay mo siya. 19. Okay? Klaro? Yung kanina, average, kasi marami siyang observations. Ito isa lang naman. Ayan. Tapos, dito sa moving range, sa lower chart, ayan, you have the upper control limit, wala kang lower control limit, kasi wala ka namang D3, so mayroon ka lang upper control. Ano kaya yung center line? Ano to? Ano yung center line? Correct. That's just the average moving range. And ano kaya itong mga data points? Saan yan nakuha? Correct. These are just the moving range. So as you can see, di ba? Wala ka sa day 1. Kasi wala naman doon yung moving range. Yung moving range mo ay doon pa sa consecutive, sa next day. Nakalagay doon sa table. Klaro? Gets yun? Ayan. So, ganun lang gumawa. Diba? Simple lang siya. Kailangan mo lang malaman. Hindi ka lang malilito kung anong formula yung gagamitin for the control limits. Dapat alam mo din kung paano kunin yung average, yung moving ranges, the range, standard deviation, sample standard deviation, etc. Then you'll be able to make the control charts, the different control charts for variables. Ayan. So, ito naman, this just shows a decision tree. Kunwari, hindi mo alam yung rationale per chart, yung X bar, yung X bar S, X bar R, XMR, ito, para tulungan ka. Pero basically, ito, are you charting attribute data? So if yes, you can use the XMR. But then again, hindi din ako maalam kung paano gamitin yung XMR for attribute data. But I think since yung XMR ay just one data point, and di ba sa attribute data either conforming or non-conforming ka. So for you to be able to use the XMR for attribute data, kasi di ba attribute data non-numeric, palitan nyo yung designation. So, kung non-conforming, 0. Kung conforming, 1. Klaro? Para may value ka. Gets ba yun? Ayun. So, pag 1, you can use the XMR. Pag no, yan, data are variables data, obviously. And then, is sample size or is the number of observation per day is 1. So, kapag 1, yes, use the XMR. But if it's not, you can use the X bar R chart or the X bar S chart. Okay? Klaro? Gets ba yun? Ayan, so ganun gumawa ng mga charts. Ngayon, sa next slides, I'm just going to give you a set of rules for you to be able to determine whether the process is out of control or still in control. Okay? Based on the charts. Klaro ba yun? Yan lang yung sinabi ko. Okay. So, di ba may mga limits tayo. Kapag may kita nyo mamaya sa mga rules na kapag lumampas siya sa limit, it means the process is out of control. But it doesn't mean na kapag nasa within the limits ay in control na siya or conforming siya. Okay? There are times na kahit nasa within limits ka, pwede mo ma-deduce na ay out of control yung process mo. Okay? So how to determine whether kung kanari, especially dun sa within the limits, how to determine whether the process out of control or in control, may rules tayo. Okay? Klaro? Klaro ba yung thought na yun? Ayan. So, for us, ito, to assist us in making a decision, so meron tayong zones. So, itong zones, ano lang siya, zones sa chart na, designated zone. So, kunwari, zone C. So, yung zone C, that is just center line plus 1S. So, yung S is yung standard deviation. So, 1S, tapos pag plus 2S, zone B, ayan. Pag plus 3S, zone A. Klaro ba? So, kunwari, average. Ayan. So, sabi, yeah, average, X bar, yung X bar upper chart to. So, ang gagawin mo lang ay average plus minus S. So, pag plus minus 1S lang, zone C, plus minus 2S, zone B, ayan, plus minus 3S, zone A. Is that clear? Ayan. So, pansinin ha, yung pinakamalapit is zone C. CBA. Okay? Kindly take note of that. Ayan. So, rule 1. Ito na yun. Isasabi ko, if you have a single point, okay? Ayan, just a single point that went outside your assigned limit, whether it's upper or lower control limit, it means that your process is out of control or is non-conforming. Klaro? Yon. Kahit single point lang na lumabas, meaning non-conforming yung process. So, engineers must do something about sa process. Kailangan lang i-check each parameter. Tama ba to or hindi? Ayun. Kasi kapag may lumampas na, most likely in the succeeding observation, meron mayat meron maglalabas doon sa parang QA mo. Gets? Any questions? Okay, so yun rule 1. So for rule 2, rules 2 and 3, we deal with those points na nasa within the limits. Okay? Okay? So, ito. Kapag daw 2 out of 3 successive values fall on the same side and more than 2S, so nandito ka sa, yan. Yeah. Ayun, more than 2S. So, nasa zone A ka, more than 2S. Ayan. Yan. Pag ganon, out of control na yung process mo. Gets? So, again, in simpler terms, kapag meron kang 2 consecutive data points na sa zone A, out of control. Okay? Any question? Any question? Ayun. So, next naman, rule 3, ito naman kapag if you have 4 consecutive values na nasa zone A and zone A, yung zones A and B, out of control ulit, non-conforming. Clear? So for example, ito, o diba, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tapos out of those 5 observations, yung 4 na yun, nasa same side ng, same side, same side dun sa center line, tapos Nandito siya sa zones A and B. Gets? Ayun. Tapos, rule 4, out of control siya kahit nasa within the limits siya. Out of control na siya kapag yung 8 successive values ay nasa same side of your chart. So example, ito. Lahat sila dun sa taas. Hindi dapat kasi meron pa rin sa baba kasi di ba ito yung center line mo, ito yung average mo. So bakit sila nasa taas? So may mali na yung process mo. Okay. Klaro. Ayan. So ito, summary lang to ulit. Ayan. So kapag 1 point above 3 sigma, so that is just above the limit, out of control na yun, non-conforming. Pag 2 of 3 points above 2 sigma, ano din siya, non-conforming. 4 of 5 above 1 sigma, non-conforming. And if 8 points same side, non-conforming. So yeah, yan lang yung summary na. Clear? Ayun. So yun lang ang lesson natin for today, and I'm going to upload the table of contents for SPC and this slide doon sa Udle, and also the recording link. For December, ano yun? Teka lang, stop share. Teka lang. For December. Okay. For December 15, we're going to meet at exactly 11:30 a.m. for the progress report. And lahat kailangan. All groups should have progress reports. Hindi pwedeng sabihin sa akin na, ma'am, wala kaming progress. Kahit ano, na nagawa nyo, kailangan nyo i-present. Pag walang presentation, 0 kayo for that activity. Okay? Klaro ba tayo doon? Ayun. So, basta any progress regarding your special project, it should be presented on December 15. No show, meaning isi-zero ko kayo. Okay? So, may nagtanong, PowerPoint presentation po ba ma'am? Yes. Similar nung ginawa natin last time na magpe-present kayo. Okay? And for the progress report, i-refresh nyo ako kung anong gagawin nyo. So, basically, i-discuss nyo yung ano pa rin, yung objectives, but less nasa RRL. Okay? So, i-discuss nyo ulit yung ano objectives, yung methodology, less nasa RRL kasi discuss nyo na yun last time. Ayun. And then, yung update nyo. Are we clear on that? Clear ba? Tapos last, we will, kung titingnan nyo yung syllabus, last exam natin ay December 17. Ayun, so the topics, yun yung linear regression, response surface, at saka SPC. Yun. So if you don't have any questions, see you on Thursday, 11:30 for the progress report. Okay? Okay na. Okay, sige. Bye-bye.